The origins of Slayer and Sark. His hood framed his face like armor, shadowing calm, half-lidded eyes that have seen more than they say, giving him that silent protagonist presence. Slayer. But this story isn't about the battles, the portals, or the powers he would one day discover. This is about a time long before all of that. A time when he was just a quiet kid trying to enjoy a normal day. One afternoon, Slayer walked through the city with his hood up, his hands buried deep in his pockets. The warm sun reflected off the towering glass buildings as he looked for something, anything, to break the monotony. That's when he saw it. A new arcade, a beacon of flashing lights and colorful machines. The sounds of cheering and high scores spilled out into the plaza, a symphony of digital excitement. But before he could step inside, something else caught his attention. Standing right in the center of the plaza was a large, imposing statue. It was a monument to a mysterious hero named Cairo, a legendary figure people said once protected the city from unseen threats. The statue showed Cairo with short brown hair, a dark jacket flowing behind him as if caught in a perpetual wind, and a calm but determined expression carved into the stone. Slayer stared at it for a long moment, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. Guess someone used to save this place, he muttered quietly to himself, his voice barely a whisper against the city's hum. Then, suddenly, bump, someone crashed right into him. Slayer stumbled back as another kid nearly dropped a handful of shimmering arcade tokens. The kid wore a black shark hoodie, its sharp, white teeth lining the hood, the open shark mouth perfectly framing his face. Black hair poked out from the top, and his whole style looked like it was pulled straight from a streetwear magazine. Woe sorry about that, the kid said, quickly gathering his balance and his tokens. Slayer just looked at him for a second, his expression unreadable. Then he gave a small, almost imperceptible shrug. It's cool. An awkward silence hung between them for a beat. The city sounds rushed in to fill the void. Then, doing something completely out of character for the quiet observer he was, Slayer spoke. Hey, you want to be friends? The shark hoodie kid's face broke into a wide, easy grin. Sure, I'm Sark, Slayer. And just like that, the two of them turned and walked into the arcade together, leaving the stone hero to watch over the empty plaza. Inside the building, the place was alive with pure, unadulterated energy. Neon lights from racing games, fighting games, and claw machines flickered across their faces. The constant clicking of buttons and the triumphant jingles of victory music echoed all around them. It was a digital paradise. Slayer and Sark spent the next few hours locked in friendly combat, trying to beat each other's high score. Sark was a natural at the racing games, his fingers flying across the controls as he drifted around corners with impossible precision. But when it came to the fighting games, Slayer was in a league of his own. His calm focus translating into flawless combos and decisive victories. After a while, they stumbled back outside, laughing and catching their breath. The afternoon sun was beginning to dip lower in the sky. All right, Sark said, still grinning. You're actually pretty good. A rare, slight smirk touched Slayer's lips. You're not terrible. They walked down the street and found a small ice cream stand. As they sat there, enjoying the cool treat and the warm evening air, Sark suddenly remembered something. Ordering to cones and finding a bench to sit on. Yo, have you heard about this other arcade? Slayer looked up from his ice cream, his interest piqued. Another one? Yeah, Sark said, leaning forward with excitement. My friend told me about it. It's supposed to have crazy stuff in its store, like super rare games and weird, one-of-a-kind machines you can't find anywhere else. He lowered his voice conspiratorially. We should go there someday. Slayer nodded slowly, a thoughtful look on his face. Yeah, that'd be fine. But as he said it, something inside him felt strange. A small, uneasy feeling settled in his chest, a quiet alarm bell ringing in the back of his mind. He couldn't explain it. Sark noticed the subtle shift in his new friend's demeanor. You good? Slayer hesitated for just a second too long. Yeah, I'm good. He didn't say anything more. The day had been too good, too fun, and he did not want to ruin the moment with a feeling he couldn't even put into words. So, they finished their ice cream and, on a whim, decided to go back inside the arcade for one last round of games. But then, something impossible happened. The music stopped. The machines stopped blinking. The people stopped moving. Time had frozen. Slayer slowly, cautiously, looked around the arcade. Everyone was perfectly still, frozen in place like living statues. A gamer's hand hovered inches from a joystick. A kid's mouth was open, mid-laugh, but no sound came out. Sark was right beside him, completely motionless, his expression stuck in a look of casual conversation. It was utterly silent, utterly still. Then, directly in front of him, the air began to shimmer and tear. A dark, swirling portal opened in the middle of the room. It glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light, and waves of unseen energy rippled through the frozen space, making the hairs on Slayer's arms stand on end. His heart pounded in his chest as he stared into the glowing vortex, a mix of fear and fascination gripping him. What is that? He whispered into the dead silence. But before he could even process the question, before he could take a single step, the portal snapped shut. It vanished instantly, collapsing in on itself as if it had never been there at all. And in that same instant, the world roared back to life. The arcade lights flickered back on. The music blared. People started moving again, laughing and shouting, completely unaware that anything had happened. Time had resumed its normal flow. Sark looked over at Slayer, his expression casual. Yo, why do you look so tense? Slayer blinked, his mind reeling. For a moment, he thought he had imagined it all. But the feeling, the memory, was too real. Nothing, he managed to say, his voice a little shaky. But his hands were trembling slightly, and he quickly shoved them back into his pockets. He forced himself to stay calm, to act normal. Let's just leave this place. Sark shrugged, oblivious. All right. The two friends walked out of the arcade together, back into the now darkening city streets. But as they walked, Slayer cooled and Tink in frozen time. The swirling portal, the chilling feeling that something, somewhere, was watching him. He didn't know it yet. He couldn't have known. But that moment, that strange, impossible moment, was only the beginning. Years later, when Slayer would find himself facing down otherworldly villains, traveling through impossible portals, and wielding powers beyond human imagination, he would finally understand. That strange day in the arcade, It was the first sign. The first whisper of a destiny that had already begun. The day time stopped was the day his real life started. To be continued on the Slayer story.